Welcome to the Fandom Outpost, your podcast for all things pop culture.
Hey Fandom, Mark here with
Stefan.
And this is another side quest. Gave you a little taste earlier on our Instagram pages, but we just got done watching. What we watched?
We saw the most beautiful. I'm joking. We were watching Borderlands.
Borderlands, the movie.
Yes.
And how much did it cost this?
20 plus tax. I'm sure it's Apple. They always
Right.
charge extra.
And that's sitting at home. We both didn't see it in the theaters. I was scared away. I'm not going to lie. I was scared away because of what I heard.
Yeah.
And first of all, guys, we are huge. Huge? Huge.
Yeah.
Gamers of the Borderlands saga.
Yeah.
I can't think of a video game that we played more than that.
Yeah. Especially as a 4-player game that we always had.
God.
We had so many runs of those playthroughs of those, at least the first two games.
Yeah.
And
God.
then it was just, it was definitely something we were very excited for when we heard about, the movie, and then it was made. But no, it was something that, was near and dear to us. It's something we still, talk about getting together to play all the time.
Exactly. It'd be one of those things like you get off work. I'll get off work. It's 2:00 in the morning. Be like, dude, you want to do a run?
Yeah.
Let's do a run on Borderlands. And just the open world, so to speak. Well, it wasn't really an open world. It was after you cleared things. It
was definitely just the missions themselves. It had a great comedic story that was, it was a little raunchy. It was goofy. It was adventurous. It was, you felt like the world was open, even though it wasn't. It had an open world style to it, but it wasn't, it wasn't Skyrim.
Right.
But it was just fun and dumb and funny, and it had a small little great story.
Oh yeah, it did. And 1 carried over into 2.
Yep.
And you got introduced to more characters in 2. Disclaimer, if you're just joining us, folks, we are talking about just the games right now.
Yes.
Okay, so 1 carried over into 2, and then 2 carried over eventually into 3. They made a 3.
Yeah.
And God love them, I think they're making a 4.
They are. It was announced when the movie came out. However, we'll see if that comes. I'm just kidding. No, I know there's really never a tie when it comes to movie. It was more so they just wanted to get that story out.
Right.
I between the rumors of the movie itself, between the rumors of the studio causing issues, or the director / writer who did double duty on that, it was a letdown. If I'm gonna be real,
I know we're really trying to be careful
Absolutely.
and not say like trigger words and stuff, but
yeah.
It's directed by Eli Roth, which, if you know Eli Roth, he came from the horror background, so he did a lot of horror movies. Yeah. And
if I'm also not mistaken, he played the Bear Jew in
Inglourious Bastards. That's right. That was him and Tarantino became friends and stuff. So it's not like he doesn't have a good career record, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like he was of the. Was it the A24? Like when you first started coming out, it was like a small time. He got a little bit bigger, but even still, it kind of kept it in it felt like a small wheelhouse, even though he became a little bit bigger of a name.
Well, he did like those Hostels, and the one that everybody likes about the cabin
it was Cabin Fever.
Oh yeah, okay. Look at you! You knew all along, Dick.
Yeah, I did.
Anyway, so I
got to be honest. I wouldn't have named 2 bad, off movies.
And let me tell you this, folks. We watched it, and within the first, I'm going to be honest, the first 30 minutes, we paused it more times, and I stopped counting. Because we paused it to ask questions, and this and that, and stuff like that. And it just, after a while, we were just like, just hit play, man. Yeah. We just got to get through this thing. And it did not live up to
change our minds.
Yeah, I don't like when we turned it off at the end, I was like, we got to save this for our side quest, because we were really like, what about this? What about this? And like I'm always championing the common man that comes up with an awesome idea after seeing a movie. And I'm like, how is that possible? I don't live in Hollywood. I don't know how the machine works, but like in order to hear a couple fans say, why didn't they just do blah, 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 blah?
Yeah.
Even the simplest little thing like that would have been like, oh, wow. Like, we're not even going to really talk about the movie because there's nothing to spoil. There's barely a plot.
Yeah.
Like I said, what did I say? It's a bunch of scenes that they thought were maybe cool from the video game thrown together.
Absolutely. And really, I don't want to beat up on the movie because it was clear someone made it because they enjoyed the game once, but some of the and I put that in there. Some of it just did, like, I mean, you're Kevin Hart as your one of your main four characters, Roland. I mean, I'm a big fan of Kevin
Hart, right?
And even though he doesn't portray the Roland type that he doesn't, when you look at him, he doesn't seem as if he's that character from that. And you know what, that's okay, they want to go a different route, but they didn't even use Kevin Hart to what he can do. We all saw Jumanji. That was basically Borderlands, and they didn't even use him in that way. He was a straight man. He made one joke, maybe two, and it wasn't for big haha laughs.
Right.
They literally just used him, I feel like, for name. And again,
right.
There could have been many rumors that there were the distributor caused issues, made delays, wanted their own story or cut. But it definitely, if there is hours of footage on the floor, I would love to see it.
Yeah, we need to see that one.
It probably would change my mind.
Yeah, come on, Eli Roth,
but I mean,
dig that out.
And this is just, a fan of the games, a fan of even those actors and this story. I would love to champion for it, but it's one of those things that just, it was a miss. And I would still say, if you're a fan of those actors or a single actor or the games, give it a try. Because I think I try to go in it as not a fan of the games, as just a fan of movies, and I was a little let down. I was a lot let down, but I'm going to try to be champion for the people. As the
movie went on, he started asking more and more questions, and I knew that's bad.
Yeah,
he was like, why could, and what did, and why, and when you do that with any movie, dude, it's like, oh, okay. And like he said, dude, Kevin Hart is almost good in everything.
Yeah.
Almost. Like, if you find the right project for him, that's cool. And the lead is Cate Blanchett.
Yeah.
Good in everything if you find the right project. Not so sure the right people were paired with the right project.
Absolutely.
So maybe the director's like, I really want to work with these people.
Yeah.
Which, okay.
Yeah.
But just not. And anybody who's followed the games, right? There's 4 main characters in the first game. Okay. And then
throughout all games, but there are 4 specific there are 4 specific characters in that first game that them. 2 of which were in the movie, Roland and Lilith.
Yep.
That was your gunner and your siren, your magic user type of deal. But you also had
Brick. Are we talking about the games?
Yeah.
Brick and Mordecai. Mordecai was my favorite.
Yeah, Brick was mine.
Bird. Yeah.
He was the big muscle bruiser that would come in and
tear you apart with his bare hands.
He'd come through and punch everything.
Yep.
Which is how I saw myself.
Oh my God. And each of those characters had like really funny lines and stuff if they did things. So,
and they had a great chemistry with each other.
Yeah, and they omitted, spoiler alert, those 2 characters.
Yeah.
They're not anywhere to be found.
Yeah.
Whether or not the director was like, let's hope for a sequel or something. And at first, he had something that was really cool. If you follow the games, there's a character called Tiny Tina, and Roland champions her in the games, and they're great friends.
But she's not introduced also until the second game.
Right, and we don't know anything. We don't know their origin. So Stefan actually said, what if this is kind of like somebody decided to write their origins?
Yeah, Lilith and Roland's
origin,
how he
saved her
along with Tiny Tina,
And at first it was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
We could get on board with that. But
that's not what it was.
Yeah, that's not what it was. They changed so much and added characters from DLC content and a character who's in the background, albeit a cool one.
Yeah.
She just didn't she shouldn't have been in the forefront. I'm talking about you, Tanis.
Yeah.
And everybody loves Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah. But that character shouldn't have been in the forefront. No, she still should have been a supporting character.
She had a bigger part to play in the first one. I mean, she was a little bit around just because she helped, but even still, they put too much. They put too much on her when it should have been those 4 characters, which as we said, they replaced Brick and Mordecai with Tiny Tina, and which I get, they wanted a little bit more, and obviously looking back at it now as I'm talking about it, they clearly want to just give women more of a role in this, where you were a little bit more guy heavy in your villains. They even replaced one of the major villains with a female character, which can even be understandable. I mean, I don't have a big problem with gender swapping for the most part. It just depends on how you write them, and if you change the entire character because they changed genders, then it changes the character that they are. I mean, General Knox was a one-eyed general who was a villain.
Yeah.
And you switched her for
a
female Billy Ray Cyrus. She had a mullet, guys. It was awful. It was awful. And I love the actress.
Oh, she did.
And I'm sorry that I don't recall her name right now, but she's a beautiful, talented actress who was in True Blood. She was fine in the role if you're going to gender swap it.
Yeah. It's just that, and again, not if you want to update the character, do something else, that's fine. General Knox was part of a DLC content, and he was like, he hated being on Pandora. He didn't care. He just wanted to get off planet and stuff like that. And he was like, I'll just kill you anyways, blah, blah, blah. But this General Knox was made to like an assassin that was chasing your protagonists. And it just, she was a waste.
And they added her as a love interest for some odd reason.
God, yeah.
That was, And I spoil that because it was so clunky that like it is.
Clunky. That's a great word for it. Oh my God, it was.
And most people, and I'm not saying this because I love Joss Whedon's version of, but this was worse and clunkier than that Joss Whedon's Justice League. At least in the end, those characters were meant to be together. It really takes you out going in as a fan of these games and not getting at least the family unit or friend or camaraderie that you had from those games that made it fun, because you got to play with your friends. You got to play each aspect of and use those abilities of each character, and you came together to wipe out these skags or scallywaps. No, I'm just kidding. I just thought it was cute with the skags thing, but
and he's right, because like you got to build, if you had 3 other friends who build those characters and you get to know them and grow with them and stuff. And we just thought as fans, if you just stuck to that simple premise with the movie, just to make it origin story, start with your 4 main characters, start with a couple villains, and you're all racing to find they're looking for this thing called the Vault, which supposedly houses either a great treasure. It does not. Spoiler. But you didn't even have that. You get nothing. You get no villains in their way that are memorable. And there's one boss from the first game that shows up at the very end of this movie, and he's a waste. He fights, oh my God, what's his name? Krieg. He fights another DLC character, and it's just big character versus big character. That's the only reason why it's in there, And there's the dialogue is real clunky, to use your word. The dialogue is cheesy, so clunky. And it's not even meant to be in a cheesy way. Like you could get behind that. Like if everybody was like, we're just going to write this cheesy movie and the jokes and all this stuff, that you can get behind that.
Yeah, but you could tell they did try to make it a sincere movie. And I think instead of playing on the fact that, because even the characters in the game played on the fact that, what are we doing here? Like, I mean, you had your claptrap, which I will honorable mention to Jack Black. He did a fantastic job, I think, as claptrap. I mean, you still could tell it was it was Jack Black a little bit, but you definitely didn't think it was Bowser. He did that too. but I mean, but no,
nice insert.
Yeah, no, but he definitely did his best to regardless of if they edited it to make him be a little bit more robotic, and then that was the other big thing, and I'm sorry to get into that, but matching that with Claptrap, they basically turned Claptrap into R2-D2. Even equipped with a hologram to give their character warning, one of their main character warning. It was
so bad.
And I jump all over the place, but it is one of those things where I think I'm in such awe that some of my thoughts can't be put together in somewhat of a coherent sentence. But that's what this movie was.
Yeah.
Incoherent clunkiness.
Yeah.
And the fact that it felt like Eli Roth or whomever wanted to make this into a Star Wars / even with Lilith, Kate Blanchett doing the opening monologue and narrating the whole. It really felt like they were trying to get all these little pieces from Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and fit it into an established video game. That's none of those things.
None of those things. No narration needed. And none of that crap.
My strongest thing is to follow Fallout, guys. Make it a TV show. Like it. 3 seasons. Dedicate 1 to each. Make it as close to the video game as possible. If you want to change some dialogue, we had a great thing where making that origin. Even if you did 5 seasons, make those origin stories where you cover your main characters, but put your main characters in there.
Show the origins.
And make it to where it is the end note. I mean, that was my biggest aspect of most things getting changed is you take out the most important pieces because you had a great idea one day, and it's, I mean, yes, you're taking charge of making this, but you're also creating something that was already loved. Why change it so much?
Yeah, there's a progression through the video games that's very pleasant to follow. So even though you get 4 new characters in your second video game, your original characters are still there in some regard. You don't play them anymore, but they're still there. You still interact. You do stuff.
They're as big as a part of the storyline as the new 4 characters.
Yeah, and you just got none of that in this movie, and it's bouncing all over the place. Where halfway through, you're kind of like, "What are they doing again?
Yeah,
like what is she doing on the planet?
Right,
I'm not sure. Oh, that's right, she's supposed to be a bounty hunter doing this.
Yeah,
and it's just not really good. I'm surprised he didn't mention yet when he mentioned about the Star Wars stuff. He caught this. I did not, but I think we had to go back. But Roland. Yeah. Roland makes a quip about he shoots a Crimson Lance armor. Those are the bad guys.
Yeah.
And he calls him a fake ass stormtrooper or something like that.
Yeah.
Stormtrooper
that was in the opening scene. Oh, that was almost the opening scene.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So then we were like, wow, that's really meta.
They're introducing Star Wars into a video game.
Yeah, does Star Wars exist?
Had nothing to do. Off-planet, future world where, mutants run around like rats. Like it's crazy.
God. Yeah, I didn't get that one at all. Yeah. I didn't understand it. And there wasn't a lot of, I'm sure somebody a lot better than me can do a deep dive and Easter eggs and stuff like that. And we were talking about stuff like, there is a really popular character named Moxie. She runs a bar in all the games, and she shows up, and she's got her brief thing, but we were bitching because she's got 2 kids in the games that are immensely funny.
And if you play the games, catch a ride! That was never mentioned in the movie.
Oh my God. That's what her son says, Scooter.
Her son is, He has
a mechanic. He has his own garage.
He has a thing called Catch a Ride, where you can have vehicles.
The simplest
spawned in an area that you're in.
The simplest thing. She shoots a bunch of bad guys. Says, "I needed a ride." Like, why not introduce more of the lore of the video game of how to get that?
She could have easily had a car.
Yeah, and then you could just have that Catch a Ride. Show up and stuff.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I guess in it would have made their movie, but that's the thing too. They didn't utilize those things. They could have easily, she once she gets, and this is going back to the movie, when she gets dropped on this planet searching for the bounty that she's searching for, they skip ahead and she's been there for months looking for these people and she can't find them. There's those moments where they can cut back to the video game where, making
A montage,
yeah,
like you were talking about.
a montage where she's facing some of the villain, even though it's not in a group or like you would play in the game. You can still single player the game and go against these villains. They could have gone through some of the villains to at least make it feel like it was connecting to the video game, instead of it seeming like they had the idea for this and then they made it. But no, I mean, you have source material.
There's a long drawn out, I don't want to say scene, but it's a focal point of the movie. They have to go through this place called Caustic Caverns where they fight a bunch of bad guys. It's really like, it's boring. It's reminiscent of like John Wick or Daredevil going down the hallway.
Yeah.
It's just shooting everybody and stuff like that. And it's like, that's actually where he said, man, if they could have done a montage of facing all the boss villains from the game, just as a montage, you show them on screen, CGI them, whatever, they blow them up as they're trying to get where they're going, or look for the girl or whatever it was, insert it how you want. Right?
Absolutely.
But insert that instead. That set piece of the Caustic Caverns things was absolutely a waste of time.
Yeah, I mean, and the Caustic Caverns is a
it's a place in the game. I think it's in the second game.
Yep, it is one of the places, but that's the two. Them unsuccessfully melding two games even to make this one still doesn't make any sense to the overall. Like if they wanted this to go the distance. I mean, first of all, changing what they changed does not make it go the distance. They combined so much together that to go from there would be to them tell their own story and
create their own Borderlands story.
And if that's what you want to do, then you should have come out with 4 new characters of your own.
Yeah,
you make your own story. You connect it in a way. It doesn't have to include the characters we've seen or even location. I mean, it's in a galaxy that's obviously doesn't include Earth. So, I mean, you could have been on a different planet instead of Pandora or Promethea. They could have been in.
Well, there's a character called. Sorry to interrupt, dude. Apologize.
No,
there's a character called Krieg. He's basically the substitute for Brick. He's
the actor's in Creed.
Anyway, he's just this big dude, and his fight scenes are really terrible. And there's one scene with Lilith using a sniper's rifle to kill some people, and I gotta feel like those are really poorly done homages to the other characters.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by the way, that Catch a Ride and all that, those characters, Moxie's kids, show up at the very end in a really blink and you miss it Easter egg of her kids. Yeah. No dialogue. They're there because peace got brought to the planet or some shit. What?
Yeah.
Like, I tell you. Well, we've been rambling on for about 20 minutes about this thing.
Yeah.
And we could probably even go another 20 minutes. It's
Absolutely.
So I think we're going to try and wrap it up because it's just, and I've made the joke about, is it worth it from home? And he said,
I'll tell you guys, it's not.
He said what I felt. He said, I am glad I did not go see this in the theater.
Absolutely.
Because you're talking tickets. Let's go get that popcorn. Can I get some drinks and something to eat? Whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
That would have been an oh my God wasted night.
Yeah.
And folks out there, if you did see it in the theater, sorry, you know. And as my daughter says, though, I will say this, because he wanted to like it.
Absolutely.
He's like, I like these actors. I'm going to give this a chance. I got to do this. My daughter always says, somebody's worst film is somebody's best film.
Yeah.
So there may be people out there that they enjoy the movie. You know, maybe if we watch it, like if it comes to streaming, I watch another 10 times. I won't, by the way. I'm not going to do that. But if I watched it again, at least, and maybe be like, is there something I can pull for it? Because you never know.
Yeah.
There could be something. Or that movie could be the source of immense laughter and bad jokes.
Yeah. For
the next 10 side quests.
Absolutely.
Like you never know. So, but we tried it. I wanted to get this out there.
Yeah.
I feel is it as bad as it was reviewed?
Right. And I definitely love to, I know comments and stuff, especially if you guys out there, tell us if you saw it, what you thought about it, what you might have seen from the games that they slipped in there that we missed. I mean,
yeah.
And that was another thing that they did. And I know you wanted to cut this a little short, but I would say they did accompany some of the stuff from the games. You know, the locations looked very
great.
much like the
Yep,
Borderlands.
they look great.
They included the skags, the flying
the cars. I don't know what they're called.
No, the
the racks.
The racks.
The racks.
Sorry,
yeah,
yes.
They included
the racks. They had some of the, but they didn't actually use them.
I gotta interrupt him.
Yeah.
Major missed opportunity. She's coming to the planet for the first time. The thing hits and it's got the sign "Welcome to Pandora."
Mm-hmm.
Very reminiscent of the start of the first video game.
Opening game enters just like that.
And he was like, "How did they not get that song?" From the game. Yep. And I don't know who sings it.
"Ain't No Rest for the Wicked" by Cage the Elephant.
That's right. And if you haven't seen the opening of that video game, the song fits. It's so good.
It's so amazing. You even though you don't see your character, you're waiting for the bus stop. One of the skags run up to you, and all of a sudden, vroom, the bus comes in and runs it over. And then you get introduced to the game like that. And even though in the second game actually they show Marcus rolling up, he was in the bus. Where this in the first game, if I remember correctly, the 4 are already on the bus and he's driving through.
Driving them,
but it's accompanied by that song, and it pulls
great.
you into the game.
Yeah, it pulls you into the game. It's so good, and he called it. It was such a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
and the guy who plays Marcus, great job, Eli Roth.
And that's what I was going to. That's what I was going to. I was going to leave you guys on Lisa Hat. Like I said,
yes,
Jack Black is Claptrap, but by far, the individual you guys got to play Marcus, he looked like him. He sounded like him from the game. Yep. I mean, he even acted like him. He was. You got to
look up to see if that was him or not.
He was,
and it wasn't. But holy cow,
he was definitely one of the best fit characters. I will say, Cate Blanchett looked good.
She looks like Lilith, phenomenal.
But like I said, between where they had her character go, how it was written, it just didn't fit down the line. But I definitely, like I said, I definitely was one of those things where I wanted to love it. I even hoped and prayed there was an end cut scene where they introduced Brick and Mordecai.
Oh my God!
And there was a little scene in the beginning where Lilith, Cate Blanchett's character, was picking up and then there was this kind of, he had the fit and build of, he could be Mordecai maybe, because he was an assassin, he was a sniper, and maybe she, caught him. He got arrested.
Why they weren't on the bus?
But then,
but
he was obviously assassinated pretty soon into it, so he wasn't him. But I was hopeful that they would at least rectify that situation, because even if they got a sequel, introducing them this far down the line would just like I said, it slaps the story of the original Borderlands
and
in the face.
If they happen to get a sequel, now you have 6 characters to choose from, and where you're going to go in a sequel, because they combined a character that's in the second game with an AI generated plot point. They combined Tiny Tina with Angel. Yeah. And made it
who was kind of like a Cortana from Halo.
Yes, great.
However,
good comparison.
Different when you get to the second game, because you learn different things about Angel. But it was like she was portrayed as a AI style. She was there. She was talking to you. She would come out of. But I mean, you do learn things about Angel as you go, and then obviously you get a huge backstory for her in the second game. But they did.
I was almost saying
they did change things.
Maybe we shouldn't talk about the games because nobody's played them. They would spoil the games and stuff. But that's the nature of it, folks. Like, first of all, the game's been out for like 20 years.
Yeah, no, it has been. Yeah, and like I said, they are introducing a fourth one. They even did. They did a pre-sequel. They also did Tiny Tina's Wonderland, which is its own game.
So good, though. It's good.
Yeah, so I mean, they're 5 games deep when it comes to these Borderland games. And it is, and I want to say, and I know this is for me and him, Tiny Tina is one of our favorite characters coming from the game.
Yep.
Even when she was introduced in the second one, she was just this rambunctious psychopath child who was just doing
blew shit up.
But then they introduced a DLC that was something.
Oh my God!
As fans of not just the games, it introduced a D&D style DLC in this, action shooter game that was phenomenal and one of the hardest things we've ever done.
Oh my God, it was even on
even going on easy.
Oh my God, or whatever. Yeah,
this was
so hard
to defeat the villains and get through. But
Holy
it was
crap.
narrated by the Tiny Tina character, and you got to play these.
Yeah, because she's playing a game.
Yeah.
With the characters from the games.
Yeah.
They're playing a tabletop game.
So you got to play a different style. You know, you still had 4 characters, but they had their own individual thing: a wizard, a knight, a thief, a rogue, and it was just
good stuff.
Phenomenal. And we got
wasted.
we got Eli Roth.
Your voice just went zinc.
That was part of the bit. You ruined it.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
But no.
All right.
It was we definitely have so much love and we definitely could talk about the games forever, but I definitely I'm sure we.
So folks, I guess if we had to wrap it up and say,
absolutely.
Don't pay for it. It's just not worth it. That's our opinion, our opinion alone.
And that's saying something for someone who I never even downloaded music back in the day. I pay for everything. So
right.
I know what goes. It's not just the actors and the writers, it's everyone, but I can't endorse this one.
No, not this one. All right, that's going to be it for us. Thanks for tuning in. We just want to keep it short and sweet. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for listening to us for a few minutes here. Make your own opinion. Go check it out, and we'll see you on our next side quest.
All right.
Cool. I'm Mark.
I'm Stefan.
Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.